I asked Charles Lee about the center rotation, and this is probably the biggest question mark regarding the depth and how that will play out. It's kind of the one position that feels like it's the thinnest, and you just don't know what you're going to get. And to be honest with you, I wasn't really asking about like the depth chart. I was asking more about the varying play styles defensively. And he said this about Mason. Mason Plumlee is going to bring an element of high basketball IQ. I think he's going to help us protect the paint at a high level, which is what we are all about first and foremost. And then with his experience, I think that he has such a good feel for player tendencies as opponents. So I was kind of reading into that quote a little bit too much, and maybe I'm not overreading into it. But number one, when I talked about the centers, I actually listed Mason last, but he listed Mason first, which I don't know if like in his head he's thinking, okay, this is how I'm going to list it, and Mason Plumlee just is on the forefront of his brain. And then number two, it seems like he was very positive, almost overly
Hmm.
positive about the Plumlee signing and what he can bring to the table. And I wonder if that's any indication of where he's at with the starting center rotation. Do you think that he was kind of hinting that Plumlee might be starting?
I do. Like you said, the way that he spoke about Mason felt a little bit elevated compared to how he spoke about Musa and Ryan Kalkbrenner. And just some of the things he said, the high basketball IQ was something that I took note of because that seems like something he really values and the organization values as a whole. And then something he said later on about not even in your question, talking about the centers, talking about the team playing with the pass more, advancing the ball. The quickest way for the ball to get up the court is with the pass and not the dribble. And when I think of Musa and when I think of Ryan Kalkbrenner, putting the ball on the deck, throwing outlet passes, like isn't really their game. I feel like Point Mason was obviously like a joke last time he was in Charlotte, but he's probably a little bit more comfortable with like grabbing a rebound, taking one dribble, and getting the ball up the floor. So we can talk about Charles's, new offensive philosophies with pace here in a little bit. But if that's the way they want to play and they're going to have their centers clean the glass and get it moving, Plumlee feels like the best option to do that as well. So even like reading between the lines of how he answered your question and how he answered other questions about the team's, like newfound direction with wanting to play quicker, move the ball, do this like Indiana Pacers style of getting up and down, Mason does feel like the most favorable option if that's the style that you're going to play.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. We will definitely talk about the pace here in a second. And I want to stick on the center rotation just real quick. The reason I asked the question, just because I think it's very interesting in terms of what these guys bring defensively. Diabaté is going to be out there that allows them to switch. Kalkbrenner being out there is going to force them to almost play exclusively drop coverage. And Lee even mentioned in this response about Brook Lopez and kind of modeling his game after that. And then Plumlee being out there, it's a little bit of both. He has some physicality. He mentions maybe he's a little bit more nimble than maybe we give him credit for. I'm not so sure about that, but we will see. And here's the thing, too. I know that a lot of people stress about the starting lineup and who gets the starting minutes. I still think Diabaté will be the top minutes getter at the five. Like when it's all said and done, he might close games for the Hornets. He's relentless in the way that he plays. He just happens to be a little bit undersized. And I remember when I was projecting the starting lineup and I had Sexton in there, and then I was like Diabaté at the five. You almost wonder if Plumlee makes more sense to kind of balance out that starting unit because Musa's undersized. You would have an undersized two guard at Sexton. But overall, I think that Musa is going to be very important to the center rotation. He's going to get a lot of minutes. And so if you are disappointed that Plumlee starts, I don't necessarily think that Plumlee is going to be the guy that finishes games, especially considering the fact that he can't hit a free throw. Well, I guess Musa's not the greatest either, but like Plumlee is pretty poor from the free throw line, still shooting left-handed. But anything else as it relates to the center rotation and where you see it going before we talk about the pace of play?